Of August 2026. Today we're looking at price from a daily chart. So we started this August with a bullish price run on Monday. Then instead you can see we had a very huge candlestick. We went through this inefficiency that we were looking at, and now we are trading at 29,745. Yesterday we were trading at 28,500 when I was looking at price in this pre-London session. So this speaks volume. So to me this is bullish. So we're looking at price to run into yesterday's high and to run into this high. So we're gonna go into the lower time frames and then we're gonna see what we have. So in the 1 hour chart, let's look at the 1 hour chart first. So I talked about this relative equal highs here from Monday. You can see this is Monday's trading. We opened up with the new week opening gap here. I mentioned this. We went into this, tried to go into this week here, tried to get into this relative equal highs here, but failed, and price retraced back into the current new week opening gap. And then in the New York Open, we ran sell signal, and then we started gyrating higher and running to those relative equal highs here. Yesterday in London, I talked about how I wanted to see higher prices, and the video is there in the YouTube channel. You can watch. So that 970.9 buy side is that candlestick's high. So I talked about it and it went into that buy side. So today is on a Wednesday. Let's go back to 4 hour chart so that we can see what we have. So those relative equal highs on the daily chart, that's the same here. So this candlestick's high, this is the high here is 29,862.95. So that's what we're gonna highlight. And that's what I want to see price run into today. So we're gonna go into the 5-minute chart and then we're gonna look at if price has the ability to run into those highs. So this is white. This is 62.95. So that's the buy side. So in this chart, we're gonna reduce this like cluster so that we can look at the whole chart. So that's our daily chart. That is that buy side that we're looking for. And now if you look at this 5-minute chart, we've been really trying to go higher very slowly. It's been wanting to go into that high very slowly. So this is yesterday's high. I'm gonna highlight that right there. And that's our buy side. So we opened up here in Asia. That's 230, that's 220, that is 155, then 2 right there. In Asia, we have this huge CB here that was this is the market on close orders macro, but it's way beyond. That is 11:15, supposed to be from 10 45 10 going to 10, right. That is the market close macro, starts right here, runs lower, they swipe it again up higher, then this drop. So I'm not really like expecting much of a bullish run, because this jagged price action, this is a high resistance liquidity run. It's not like we've had a very interesting run higher, but I'm expecting price to start going higher, because we are making lower. I mean, this is a lower low. This is lower than this one here, but if you look at the highs, we're making higher highs, meaning price has an interest to start running higher. So this is buy side right there. So I want to annotate the midnight New York Open. We just opened, and right now is with 31 minutes past the midnight New York Open. that is 31 minutes past 7 my time. So we open up here, and immediately we open up, we have this run, not really a run higher, but this one candlesticks higher, and then we have this drop here. So that drop is very significant in trying to pursue higher prices. That is right there. And then I'm going to anticipate price to start running into this high. So we have some minutes going into the 750, the macro that normally comes at 750. I've talked about that macro, and we've seen its impact in the previous price action. So we're still going to expect it to do some kind of maybe a retracement lower, or maybe it will start pushing price higher. So we took out this low here, started running higher. We have an BC here, that's a buy side imbalances and efficiency, and now we've had this drop and we have this CB here. So I've come into the marketplace and it has been trading around 950. That could have been a very nice buy at 950 because we've already had the retracement here, and now it's trading higher. So my interest in this small CB here is to run through it, and we've run through it. So my next area of interest is this high here. So the bias is bullish. I've already stipulated out my bullish bias just by unrating that buy side liquidity pool there, because I'm expecting price to start running into that buy side. So we have this high here. This high here is the candlestick high is 776.51. I'm expecting price to start running to 776. If I could have bought 750, 770 could have been it, and then we start we finish the trading for today. So open up here, we've had this CB here. This is just a minor retracement. We've not even taken out this low here, and now it's up there at 766. So 750 is a possible buy once again. So this inefficiency here, I've talked about it. I want to see price trade through it. So I'm going to extend this out to 8 and expect still price to remain on the upper portion of that inefficiency and start trading into this here, and possibly into this inefficiency here that occurred on yesterday on the market on close macro. So I've stipulated my bias. Let's look at a 15-minute chart from this on this chart. So we look at the 15-minute chart here. You can see this is yesterday's high together with that buy side that I've talked about, and we've been trading higher. It's not really like it's running higher like this run here that happened yesterday. It's just it is moving higher slowly. Any kind of adjustment it's run through. Any kind of adjustment here ran through. Retracement, price goes higher. Retracement takes out this low here, price runs higher, and then we have an inefficiency here. Trust to run inside that inefficiency, it moves higher. And now we've run into that inefficiency. Why is it moving higher? And now I want to see it going to 776 and 780 level. So if I could have, honestly, if I could have come earlier here, we could have gotten that buy at 750 and then expect price to run higher, and including this high. I can't buy this high here because you can see how price is behaving. We have a retracement runs higher, a retracement runs higher. That's why I can't buy that. So I want to notate this inefficiency here that happened from yesterday's market on close because it's important, and that's what I expect price to reach into. right there. See it? And the midpoint of that inefficiency is right here. So this is the narrative for today. There we go. So apart from that bicycle right there, I'm expecting price to start running to that inefficiency here. And best case scenario, remain on the upper portion of that inefficiency, and then maybe we'll have a straight run into that buy side. But if the market macro that comes in at 750, right now is 737, if it comes in and start trading lower, I'll expect it to run into these relative equal lows here and then start moving higher again. So yesterday's high, let's look at what that price is. That is 29,830.87. So that's 830. And this high here, I think that's the yesterday's high. That's at 830, yeah, 826, 830, right there. So this is momentum trading with ICT concepts. All these are ICT concepts. This macro here that I've talked about, the market on close here, the inefficiency here that I want price to reach into, the inefficiency here. If we close this candlestick here, this will be a balanced price range. I will not really be expecting price to start gyrating to that point a lot. I'll be expecting higher prices. So this midpoint of this inefficiency, that's 781. The high of that inefficiency is 795. So that's the buy side that I'm expecting price to reach into. That's the minor buy side, and all of this is concept. So yesterday's highs and lows, they normally run very frequently. If you look at price action a lot, you realize that daily highs and lows, those are majority the draws on liquidity. Not majority, always the draws on liquidity is either drawing into a daily high, a weekly high, or a monthly high, and that's what goes on. So today is nothing different. I've talked about why I'm bullish. We opened up here at 0 GMT after this drop here yesterday, market on close, after we've had a very long day of higher prices. Because see, from yesterday's London, we're trading inside this inefficiency here. I talked about it, went higher, retracement into that inefficiency right there. It did not trade even the lower half of that inefficiency right there, and that time is 12:15. That is the end of London. And we had this run higher above that high, and you can see here that is the New York Open. I talk about this 6:30 my time open. That's 9:30 a.m. the New York session opened up very small, run lower, and then we have very bullish price action here. So you can see here we've run above into that minor buy side. So I'm going to be deleting this here, and this is I'm going to put this to be dark blue, I mean silver, because that buy side is out. So you can see we've run into that inefficiency here that I drawn out. I talked about it. Very nice price run here. So 750 was a very nice buy and running through that high here, and now we're trading at 784. Something tempting. I want to buy that 780 level, but we have like 9 minutes before that macro comes into place, and I don't want to be ahead of that macro because we can have as a retracement lower and then start trade higher. I mean, that's how price has been behaving here. So we ran lower, did not take even take out this low here, and then we have this run higher. So the fact that we went below this low here, right here, and then we had this movement higher, we have an inefficiency here, speaks volumes. If I could have came in front of price and we only printed the midnight New York open candle, that right there, my interest will have gone into this inefficiency actually. I'm going to annotate this here. Actually, these are very small volume imbalance, so let's look at that again. Right there, my interest will have gone right there. Let's put this as cadet blue and then extend it to, so that could have been my interest if I could have came in front of price and found that we had not had this move lower here. So this is 9. Okay, so we open up here, we ran that inefficiency here that was formed after we take out a low and the bias is bullish. So we ran through that inefficiency. Look at the bodies here, they stay inside that inefficiency, they stay inside that inefficiency. We run higher, we run outside that inefficiency, we run lower, we trade on the upper half of that inefficiency only, together with that very small volume imbalance. So see the close here is 747. I'm looking at down here, you cannot see it because my recording does not permit for that. On look at what the close on this candlestick. Anyway, let me just say the close is to 9,747.51, and then the open here is 747.76. So there's a very small efficiencies in there. So you run lower, look at the bodies, they stay inside the inefficiency. You run higher, look at the halfway, run higher, price support on the halfway, run high again above that high, that's bullishness. We run lower. It could have been best if we drain this low here and then this had happened. So this is very nice. This is a very nice price run higher. So we're trading at 786 now, and I've said if we run into that inefficiency here, I want to see price remain on the upper portion of that deficiency and then start to gyrate into that 800 level, and then maybe we'll see 820. So we have 1 minute and then we'll start the 747. That's a new 15-minute candlestick, and then we'll have that 750. We'll try to see what that 750 does. Do they accelerate into that buy side? They accelerate it into that buy side, or does price have a retracement lower and then we'll start higher? That's what I'm looking at here. So there we go. We start another 5-minute candlestick. Look at here. This is important. We've closed on the upper portion of that inefficiency. That's interesting. That is strength. So if it keeps up with the higher prices, I'll be wanting to buy that 780 level and expect price to start running higher. Where can we run into? I normally I've never showcased this here, but this price swing is important as well as this run here on sell side, especially this one here. We run higher here and then we run sell side below and all low, and then we have this move here that makes up that inefficiency. So from this low here, that high, look at the projection here. It's the top of that inefficiency. So that is something like an implied dealing range where we can expect price to run into. and that 794 level, we can run into that, and then eventually run into that one standard deviation, that is to 9,833.77, and it's interesting that that is above yesterday's high. That's above this buy sell liquidity pool here. So we might not necessarily run into that buy side. That's why I'm still patiently waiting to see how price trades here, because we've been running higher. We have a retracement, we run higher, a retracement, run higher, a retracement, run higher, a retracement, and now we're headed into that 750 macro, and we have 3 minutes remaining. So I'll be expecting price to, majority what it does is just a minor retracement. Like yesterday we had that retracement that got me out, and on Monday we had a very huge, not really a retracement, but the market turned on a dime and it started trading low into that new wick opening gap. So we might have a retracement here, even though our bias is bullish, and you can see how we've been trading. We go higher, we have a retracement, go higher, we have a retracement, and you can see the retracement are back into that inefficiency here, and then now we've had this run into that minor buy side that I highlighted there, together with that inefficiency. Basically I want to see it remain on the upper portion of that inefficiency and then start to run into 800s. That's the best case scenario. So we've just back into that. The low of this candlestick is 9,779.89. So we've touched that 80 level if I was to buy it, and now it's ticking up into that in that time. So we're remaining 2 minutes, and then we're going to see if we have a retracement lower, or does it have the ability to start just running straight higher like it has done here. So again, I've said that I don't want to buy it up here because that macro might come in and then we might have that major retracement lower before we start running higher. So my interest on that buy side is not only in yesterday's high, but it's also on this candlestick here. This candlestick's high is, so that the high is 29,862.95. So that is 862.95, and this yesterday's high is 830. So that is 862, 830, that's 30 points into those, between those two pools of buy side. So I'll expect it, if it wants to run into that yesterday's high, 15 points more into that high. That is the PDRA called the event horizon. Between two liquidity pools, that is event horizon. So 15 above 830, that is 845. That is an event horizon, and we can reach into that. So you can see here we've opened that first macro that is called, and you can see we're trading around that midpoint of that inefficiency here. So we've run buy side, and the best case scenario I've talked about, what I want to see is a retracement lower, at least into this inefficiency here, maybe into 760 and 750 can do, and then maybe we'll have that run higher. So currently we're trading at that 780 level. So we're trading at 29,776.76, around 75. That is that retracement that I've talked about. And that's the reason why I was skeptical about buying it up here. Now that we've even taken that buy side. So you can see the retracement back to 9,766. So if price retraces back into 750, I'll be buying it. So 750 level is down here. And these typical lows are below 736. So it's very interesting. And 720 is below this inefficiency. So I don't really expect price to run into the low of that inefficiency. This one here. If we run into the low of this inefficiency, then we'll be weak. Something's telling me to look at S&P. I've not really of lately been looking at S&P. That's because it has very small price runs in terms of points. So I'm not really interested in that. So we're back down to 770s. So we've run lower. We've touched the high of this inefficiency here. This candlestick's low is the low here is 761. 761.76, and the low here we've made is 761.89. So we've touched the 761 level, and you can see we've had this rejection from that low and movement higher. So this is very interesting. It might not reach into that 750 level that I've talked about, but if we have this retracement as a huge one, we might be buying that 780 level. We have 1 minute, and then we're gonna close this 5-minute candlestick here, and then we'll see whether does it also open up and run that week into these lows here, or does it open up and then start trend higher? Because we've run into that inefficiency here, and we've also seen this BC here. I don't want to highlight it, but it's right there. So we've ran lower and then come back up higher. So from 761, we come back higher to 776. So we've closed there. This is the new candlestick. Then we go to 780 again. So this candlestick's high here. That is from the new buy side. This high here is 788. So that 780 level is a nice buy. You can see the way we pushed higher. So if we come back down here again to that 780, I'll be interested in looking for that buy. I'll be interested in looking for that buy. So we've had this long week here, and price has not really had the interest of run lower into that week. So that speaks something to me. So it's sticking up with that 884 level. We're remaining with a few minutes, and then we're gonna close this 1 hour. So we're back right there at 787. That's nice. That's nice to touch 790s. Beautiful. If I were to buy that 780 level, that could have been 10 points now. So the high of this inefficiency, I talked about it. That is that's the low of this candlestick, and that low is 794. So we're there right there at 791. 794. If I could just finesse this here and got a note of 794, then 20 points lower would have been 784 and 774, and 774 is right there, right here. So you can buy that 774 maybe, and then got a note of that price right there. See how it's running to that. That's nice. So we've run higher. The body is remaining inside this inefficiency here. You can see how we've traded around that midpoint of that inefficiency. We've had this rejection lower here, and then right now we've opened up, and then the candlestick has just protracted higher beautifully. So we're gonna run into that 800 level to 9,800. So from down here, if we could have bought 750 again, I've talked about this here. This could have been a very nice run into that buy side. Retracement lower into that inefficiency here, and then we have this run higher, and then into the top of that inefficiency here that I talked about, and that is that was formed on yesterday's market on close on the macro, and that is this candlestick here. That's 2250. Beautiful run higher. I mean, this is a very simple run higher. It's with momentum. You can see how price has respected this inefficiency here. We've run into that inefficiency here, and then you can see the rejection from that low, opened up and then ran higher. That's nice. That's very nice. So eventually, if it may, I want to see it run to that 830 level. So we've run to the top of that inefficiency here. You can see we are back down. So it wants to close this 1 hour candlestick and this 15-minute. So in the next 5 minutes, actually we've closed that, and we've closed right there, and then we're back down again. So my interest right here going forward is not like we've abandoned that bias, but I want to see, does it want to run this week here once again, and does it have an interest to come back into these lows here? So if we do that, then my interest in buying that 750 level will again be sparked. I don't want to be buying that 780 level. I've talked about how I don't want to be buying that in that high here, but you can see how we went to that 780 level again, and then it's running higher. So the reason why I'm not interested in buying that 780 level, we're above that buy side. So look at that run higher, beautiful, right? So we've done exactly the opposite that I talked about this week here. I was expecting price to open up and start running into that week, but it has not done so. Instead, we ran higher, had this week here, came and closed here. We've opened up here, we ran into that level there, and you can see we've ran straight up into that week. So that is bullish. that is straight up bullish. So if again, if I could have bought that 780 level is around here, then I could have been up very nice 20 points, almost 20. The high here is 798. Of course, it's going to 800. There we go. That's 29,800. So this is a very nice run higher. Can we try a buy on that 800 level? Maybe expect price to run into that 820s. The fact that we've had this price run out with that inefficiency like that, that could have been that can be a very nice idea to buy that 800 level and expect it to run into that 820s. So this is an everyday thing. This is something that happens every day. I've seen this momentum every day and it's very consistent. It's very consistent. That's a nice rejection. Not rejection really, but that's a nice drop. Back to around 777. So we've had these two down close candlesticks and then we started moving higher. That's interesting. Let's look at the 1 minute from this chart here and see what it's really doing. So you can see the retracement here, that right there, trend lower, and then we have this run higher, retracement lower. This is the one that I was talking about right there at 780, and then we run higher. So let's see whether they take it from 29,800 and run into that 810 and 820s. That's ideally what I'm expecting because of you can see how we've reacted from the midpoint of that inefficiency there. Opened up, ran, came low and closed on the 1 hour chart. On the 15-minute chart, we closed right there. And then we've opened right there. Very small drop here. This candlestick here dropped to 9,774. Very small drop here, and then we ran outside that inefficiency. We've closed this 5-minute candlestick here because this is the macro. This is the last candlestick of this macro 1, 2, 3, 4. So we started here 750, trend lower, and then we've had this move higher. Opened up, trend higher, and there we go. We've opened up, we've touched an efficiency. I really don't want to see it come back again into that efficiency and spend some more time inside that efficiency, then that will be a little bit more difficult. So I want to see it just run higher. So you can see we opened up right there. 800 maybe can be a very nice buy after all, right? We're moving higher. We're trading at 805 now. So there we go, 807. So the momentum still works. It still works, even though I've not really like tried to buy it. The momentum still works. It still works. You can see we're trading at 810. If it goes into 820, automatically it's gonna go into that 830 level and above it. So that's 810. Very nice. Run higher. So that's a very nice reaction from that inefficiency here from the market on close. We open up, run down here. We touch the top of that inefficiency, run higher. We're trading at 813 now. Beautiful momentum trade here from 750 to 800, and now we are 810. 750 to 780s, 780s to 800. Beautiful, right? This only this movement is enough for me. Let me say for me, maybe someone might not be interested in this session. Maybe they did not allow him to trade on this session. Maybe they are at work, or maybe they are spending time with doing something else. So for me, I discovered this small fraction time here, that is Prelondon, where we have a consistent price move that if you couple it with a couple of things, with narrative, using inefficiencies, using gaps, using fair value gaps, using new day opening, new week opening gaps, new day opening gaps, using liquidity pools, daily highs, daily lows, all highs, all lows, then you can get a consistent run on liquidity. Now that we've printed Asia, and most of the times is just a replica in momentum that happened in Asia most of the time. Like yesterday, we were bullish. Today, from Asia, we are bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. We are bullish. We just have to mark up the midnight New York opening price, look at the momentum, look at how price is behaving, and then there you go. And then you start looking for key levels. Look for inefficiencies where price can be respecting the half level of the inefficiencies. Look for key price points. I've already talked about the midnight New York opening price. I've already talked about this kind of basis and why they are important. Every inefficiency here is important. It's important. I talked about this inefficiency here now that we rent this low out and we have this stretch out move higher. We had this inefficiency only in this move. We did not even have an inefficiency here that is significant, let alone this here. So this is the elephant in the room. Step on that inefficiency here, you can see the bodies, the remaining inside that inefficiency will go higher. Run into that inefficiency, price does not really have an interest to run to the lower portion of that inefficiency, we run higher. If you put the quarters in this inefficiency here, you can see how the bodies have respected their proportion of that inefficiency right there, and then we'll move higher. I highlighted this inefficiency here and why it's important. Bottom close, and then I expected price to run into that inefficiency, find support on that midpoint level there, and then trade higher. You can see the same thing is happening here. You opened up here with this macro here, you couple it again with the macro, open up, you run lower. I was expecting it to run into that 750 level so that I can buy it, but I already explained why this inefficiency is important. That's a balanced price range. If we're really bullish, I did not really expect price to start trading into that inefficiency. Then we run higher. Right there, we open up, we touch the high of that inefficiency, comes back higher, and then we run into that here. That 1 hour closes right there. Open up a new hour, we ran to this here, and you can see how we ran higher, and now until now we are running higher. So this is bullish. And what is this? Yesterday's high, that is 730, 830, I mean, sorry. So that's the drawn liquid going bullish. So I'm gonna let price run to that 830 level, and then I'm gonna call it a session. And of course, I also have to be somewhere today. So we're trading at 814. We're up there at 815s now. We've touched 815. So we have 15 more points to run to that buy side. And I talked about between that buy side and this high here, that is event horizon. The high is 862, and we have yesterday's high at 830. So 845 is event horizon. So let me just highlight that. It's right there. That's what we call right there. It's between that buy side in this buy side at 8. This candlestick side, that is 862.95. Right there. That 845 level is not really the exact level that is speculated here. Just eyeball that and then move that to that midpoint right there. So right there, that is event horizon. So we're trading at 817s now. Beautiful run higher. This now beautiful. This actually has performed better than yesterday. Really? Not really. It's just the same. Price is the same. But of course, it has performed better than Monday. Really? No. It's just price. It's just price. And this is the way it behaves during this time. This is the way it behaves during this time. So we've touched that 815. So I don't really want to be staying a lot into this price action. I've already talked about where it's going to reach into, and that is going to be enough for today. So I'm going to stay here for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to close this up at exactly 1 hour of this recording. So that's a nice push higher. We're trading at 822 now. That's beautiful. And I want to see that buy sell liquidity. That is Let me just annotate it further. Right there. So that is 8:30. We've opened up this candlestick here. We pushed higher to 823.16. Nice. So even though we've not really got a trade today, this is still an encouragement that this works. This works. It works. It's momentum. It works. During this time here, that is from the midnight New York Open here until early London, it's normally a consistent price move, and it's right here working again with this narrative of inefficiencies and liquidity balls. So my trades, I don't really expect them to reach to those liquidity pools. The most important thing is the entries, and then you wait for 20 points in the direction of momentum, in the direction of the liquidity pool that I'm speculating. So I talked about how if I had a trade here at 750, I could have gotten out at 770. If I had bought that 800 level at 780 level, then I could have gotten out at 800 level. If I could have gotten in at 800, then I could have gotten out at 820s right there. So 800 is on top of this here. The open here is 796. So 800 is around here. Get out at 820. So those are three opportunities to be a buyer and get 20 points out of this move here. Think about that. Think about that. Those are three opportunities to be a buyer in the direction of buy side, with the narrative of these inefficiencies and why they are important, with the narrative of these lines here. Every line here, every inefficiency here that is colored. This is olive drab, this is light slate gray, this is cadet blue. All these inefficiencies have a story to tell around what price action is gonna do, where it's gonna draw into. So, and that's not something that you learn. That's something that you learn. That's not something that you learn on a 5-minute video or on one day of studying ICT concepts. You will never understand this kind of narrative. The narrative, you must spend hours with ICT, and best case scenario, watch the live streams as if you are live watching. So all this talk here is just a way of encouraging myself that this stuff works. You might hit and miss once or twice here and there, but if you stick to this time frame here, I now don't need even the opening range gap in the regular trading hours, because there's no regular trading hours. I'm only trading electronic trading hours. This midnight New York opening time, this is something that I learned way back when I was trying to learn forex, when I was trading currencies, because currencies, they work like clockwork. So this is something that I learned way back. And when ICT started teaching NQ and ES in 2022 or 2022, I think, then he made these concepts clear. He made me know how to read the narrative. He made me know about the seasonal tendencies and how price behaves in which type of the month, in which type of the day. Especially now that this is NFP week, this time of of the day here is going to deliver a consistent price move. Yeah, despite on Tuesday was very nice. You can see Tuesday we ran higher the whole day. Yesterday's price action, you can see here, it's very clear. Buy side, inefficiency. I talked about the narrative here, and we ran higher. Despite this run lower here, we ran higher into that buy side. It's easy to get 20 points here if you look at what points to be buying from. Today, same narrative, same narrative. Inefficiency here, and why it's important, that's the MOC. I've talked about that. I do not want to talk about that week because it's also very important and the midpoint of that week, but let me just talk about that inefficiency only. I talked about this one here and the reason why this was important, and then we have this price run higher, very small retracement here, we run higher, and eventually I want to see trading to the yesterday's high. So today I've talked about the narrative, I've talked about why inefficiencies are important, I've talked about liquidity pools. Whereas I've talked about how to anticipate this run lower here together with the macros. I've talked about macros. This macro here, I talk about it every day. That's 750 to 810 macro, that 20-minute hour window, 20-minute window of price action is important. I talked about it on Monday, I talked about it yesterday, and I'm talking about it today. So it's good that these things are consistent. That is one. It's good that they're there. So I wanna be somewhere, so I want to see that buy side drain out, and then we're gonna close this up. So we're trading at 823 now. Let's see whether we'll reach into that 830. So that's 824. So I'm remaining with 2 minutes, and then we're gonna close this up regardless of whether we reach into that buy side or not. So it's still keeping up with the higher prices. We're trading at 825 now. Have you ever had the confidence that something is gonna work? It is going to work. That gives you some kind of expectation that is wild. It gives you an expectation that is so wild that if you become patient and you only do this, soon enough, then you'll be profitable. That's the kind of feeling that I have right now. So if you're a viewer, I'm gonna take that up to you. And if you find this important, that's on you. You're gonna press buy or sell. That is on you. So I think that's it for today. We're gonna call it a tape reading session. Prelondon with momentum, with narrative, with the ICT concepts. So we're so close to that 830 level. That's what I'm waiting for. That's 826 now. Back to 825s. So I have to be somewhere, honestly. So that's really it for today. Until tomorrow, same time. Adios.